it's your music video maven Gabby. Welcome back to the Musicians Prime YouTube channel, the #1 place for musicians to learn how they can leverage their career with video. In today's video, we are going to be going over the ABCs of editing terminology, that is, defining and demystifying all the words and terms that you need to know when it comes to editing a video. Processes about putting a video together that I find musicians have is understanding the language of editing. You know, when it comes to editing a video, they'll hear words like jump cut or B-roll or blade tool, and they're like, what the fuck does that mean? So I'm here to explain to you all the basic terms that you might hear when you're editing a video, whether you're editing the video yourself or you've hired someone else to help you edit the video. So the first couple terms we're going to go over are A-roll and B-roll. Now, A-roll is basically any footage that you have that is like the main focus in your video, whether that's yourself or someone else that's starring in it, or some other object that's like a focus in the main focus in the music video that you're going to be making. That is what we consider A-roll. B-roll is footage that is not necessarily the main focus, but it helps kind of piece the story together. So this might include things like images of the setting, or people passing by, things that help just kind of move the story along, that kind of stuff. So here's a section of A-roll that we shot in a 4-play clarinet music video. You notice how that we're, at least one of us is the main focus of the video, and then here's some B-roll of just like scenery and images that are kind of surrounding the area that we are filming, or that we filmed during that music video. The next term that we're going to go over is the blade tool. Now, you might have heard me talk about this in the last video when I was talking about music video editing basics. The blade tool, I think, is one of the most important things to know when it comes to a music video edit, because this is the thing that's going to kind of trim the fat, cut your clips from here to here, make sure you're getting what you want and leaving out the rest. So, here's a big little example of me editing with the blade tool. In Final Cut Pro, it's just Command B or B, then you see that little blade button, and I can just kind of cut the clip where I want to from here to there, and boom, then we've got exactly what we want in the little video timeline. The next term that we're going to be covering is color correction. Now, color correction refers to the process of editing the colors in the video footage so you kind of match the temperature across all platforms. So for example, if I wanted to make the video look a little colder, I might add some, I might go into my video editing software to the color board. I might, add some more blue hues or colder tones to make it look more of a cold setting. And this is, we do color correction sometimes to give a certain feel in a video. So if we want to emphasize like maybe the weather, or just make it look a little more natural lighting, or maybe a little bit warmer, again, it depends on the setting and the mood of what the video is. Maybe you don't need to do anything crazy. Again, maybe you just need to get some natural lighting fixed, or, the shades of your face, making it look like you have natural tones in it. Then, you color correct to kind of fix those things and kind of just match that process. So for example, say you're working with a video editor and you want something that looks a little bit warmer in a scene. You want to tell them, hey, do you think you could color correct those clips from here to here to make it look like it's looking a little bit warmer in temperature here, or colder in temperature perhaps? Again, it's going to depend on what you're filming. But yeah, just understanding, just what color correction is and how you can use it to change and alter the feel of a video is really important. The next thing we're going to go over is called copy attributes. So this is more of an action rather than like a definition, like a noun itself. But when you say you want to copy the attributes to a video clip, that means you're taking the aspects that you've already edited in one scene, copying them and pasting them into another clip. And this might be helpful if you're referencing back and forth to certain scenes, but you don't necessarily want to manually go in and put in directly every single little thing you did in that clip before. So instead of just manually adding all those things back into the next clip that you want those attributes in, you just copy and paste. And boom. And that is going to save you so much time when it comes to edit, because especially when you got so many clips to go through and so many things that you want to add into your music video, you don't want to waste time having to manually like click every little thing. No. So just copy the attributes and paste them in and boom, you're good. Okay, now the next two video editing terms that we're going to go over is called a jump cut and an L cut. These are two pretty common cuts, meaning, ways to edit your clips together in your music video timeline in the editing software. So a jump cut describes clips moving from scene to scene with no visual transition. So if I wanted a visual transition, you might see those like crazy like wipes or cross dissolves or zooms. Those are visual transitions, but when you do a jump cut, there is no visual transition. You see one clip go from here to there, and boom, that's it. That's a jump cut. A really good jump cut will look seamless. There's no like little like clips of something else leaking over into the ends or the beginnings of the images. A good jump cut will go seamlessly from one scene to another. Now, an L cut describes when you're moving from scene to scene and you hear the voice or the sound of the next scene before you actually see the image. So this might look like, seeing the voice of the singer or hearing a piece of the song and someone's playing the instrument of it in the next scene, but you actually hear that part before you see it on screen. So here's an example of what that might look like. Make sense now? So the next term we're going to go over is resolution. Now I talked about this a little bit in the last video, but just to go over it again, video resolution is referring to the number of pixels displayed on a screen and measured by height and width. So for example, the video that you're watching right now, the resolution is 1920 by 1080. That's pretty standard video resolution for most videos that you watch here on YouTube. For example, if you're watching a square video on Instagram, that resolution is 1080 by 1080 because it has to be in the resolution of a square. If you're watching something on IGTV or TikTok, the resolution for that is 1080 by 1920 because because you're viewing that kind of video in a more vertical portrait view as opposed to landscape view, like you're watching this video, for example. The next video editing term that we're going to be going over is transitions. Now this is just kind of describe how we move from one clip to the next. But specifically in this section, I'm going to be talking about different kinds of visual transitions that we can use. There are things called wipe transitions, which means you're going to be wiping from scene to scene. Or a zoom transition, which means from one clip to the next, you're going to want to zoom in to the picture. Or maybe you're going to have a fade in or a fade out transition. If you notice at the ends of my videos, they kind of do, I have these little like fade in, fade out effects. You can do fade in or fade out. So here's an example of me fading out, and then I fade back in. That's a fade in and a fade out. Another kind of transition is called a dissolve. One that you might commonly hear is called cross dissolve, which kind of dissolves the image before into the next image. And cross dissolve is not the only dissolve out there. There's different kinds of dissolving effects that your video software might have, but again, cross dissolve is a pretty common one. So now these aren't the only transitions that are out there, but those are 4 pretty common ones that you should know. Yeah, knowing those again is going to help you tell your video editor how you want to transition from scene to scene. And knowing which transitions you want is really going to help you tell your story in a more visually interesting way too. So yeah, it's really helpful to know your transitions and what kinds of transitions there are in your video editing software. So the next term we're going to go over is the timeline. Now this is an especially important term to know when working with your own video editing software. The timeline is basically where you're kind of managing all the clips, where you're putting all the little title slides, where you're putting all the transition, everything that happens goes on in the timeline. Okay, next term we're gonna go over is called a time lapse. Now, I mentioned this a little bit when we were going over clip speed, but the time lapse is particularly important because a lot of times in music videos, or videos in general, sometimes we use time lapses to increase the speed of a clip just to kind of move things along in the story. You know, it's kind of, we usually use time lapse when we're going through a motion of a same kind of path, but we want to increase the speed of the clip. And generally this is a little more visually interesting because you're moving through the motions at a faster rate than you normally would if you were going to be moving at the original speed of the clip. Now you can take time lapses in one of two ways when you're filming the video. You can either do it, just film the video as is and edit it within the software, again, adjusting the clip speed to make it look faster. Or if you're using like an iPhone, or if your camera has this option, you can choose a time-lapse setting, and then as you film whatever you're going to film, the clip automatically gets compressed into a smaller file, but again, then it moves faster. So then you'll already get the time-lapse moving within the edit. The next term that we're going to be going over is voiceover. And this is just referring to a voice or a narrator that's voice is heard but not seen within the video. You know, it's kind of like an offstage narrator. You hear the voice on screen and see them talking, but you know, you don't see their face. And you may have noticed that I do this every once in a while in my own videos, though this is not quite as common in music videos unless you want kind of some narration as part of the music video, or that's going to be implied, or there's some narration that's part of the track that you're using. It's not quite as common in music videos, but if you're making like tutorials like this, you can use voiceovers when you're narrating something that you want to show. Like if you're showing like an action on screen, like I did in this video when I was showing you how to film videos with a music stand, then it's much easier for me to do the voiceover while I'm doing the action, because then you're just not hearing me talk, then seeing the action. I can kind of talk and, you know, do the action at once. And I recommend getting a nice mic, something with good audio quality for your voiceovers like this. There's no like extra fuzz or whatnot. I use my Zoom H2N to record all of my voiceovers, and that just makes my life like 10,000 times easier. And it's like really crystal clear audio, so I really like using it for that. So anything like that is great to do voiceovers with. The last term that we're gonna go over in this ABCs of video editing terminology is zoom in, or zoom in, scale up. That's kind of like the more technical way, but I just say zoom in because it's a lot easier to think about it that way. So if I want to do a zoom in on a clip, so let's say I'm going from one clip to the next and I want to zoom in on my nose or something like that for whatever reason, I would say to myself, or if you're telling this to an editor, hey, can you do a cut and zoom effect on my nose from this clip to the next clip? So if I'm doing that right now, I'm going to go from this clip to this clip. See, now you see my nose a little bit closer, and then to the next one. Yeah, so that's how you zoom in on a clip. So yeah, those are all the main terms that I think you should know when it comes to video editing. Obviously, there's like way more things that we can dive into more deeply. So if you have any questions about any specific terms that you've heard that I didn't cover in today's video, let me know in the comments below and I can create a video around that. But yeah, this is what I think you should know as far as basics of video editing terms go, because these are pretty common when it comes to video editing, or when you're interacting with a video editor that you're hiring out. You know, you can use these terms to reference to certain things and reference to the way you want your music video to look like. So yeah, I hope that this video was helpful. Again, if you have any questions about any of the terms that I talked about, let me know in the comments below, or if there's something else with the video editing process that you have more questions about, again, comment below and let me know, and I will surely help you out and make some video content around that. Okay? So yeah, thanks so much for watching. We will be taking a break just for next week, and so no video next week, but in 2 weeks from now, we will have a brand new video, and we will be going back to our schedule of new videos every Friday. I'm just taking a little extra time to work out some kinks on some other content that I'm producing, and so, just so I can take a week off from putting out a video for this channel, for like my video tip stuff. That way I can kind of get back on schedule. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new video. Again, if you like this video and the content that I produce on this channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure to share this with all your friends. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Until next time, bye.